Welcome back to Sim Racing Tonight. Logitech has been around the sim racing community with many different force feedback wheels, from the Dual Force Pro to the Momo and now the new G25. This episode we get to take a brand new G25 out on the track, and on top of that, Logitech wanted us to check out their new G51 surround sound system that's not even on the market yet, so we were happy to hook them up to the Sim Pod, so let's check them out.
Let's start with the specs on both the G25 and the G51. The G25 has up to 900 degrees of rotation that is adjustable. Inside, it has dual motor force feedback to help provide Logitech's most powerful force feedback yet. Also comes with stainless steel gas, brake, and clutch pedals. It has a 6-speed shifter with reverse that has a steel shaft and a leather wrap ball. You can also use the shifter sequentially or use the F1 style wheel-mounted stainless steel paddle shifters. It has a hand-stitched, leather-wrapped 11-inch wheel and retails for under $300 and has been on the market for more than a year now. Now for the specs on the G51 surround sound speaker system. It has 360-degree surround sound with dual matrix modes for gaming and music that creates a 5.1 surround sound experience. The speakers feature laser-tuned satellites with FDD2 technology. Total RMS power is 155 watts. It has 4 satellite speakers, a center channel, subwoofer, and a control pod. The G51s will retail for $199 when they hit the market this month.
I've only run with force feedback wheel briefly during my sim racing career. Being a TSW owner long before force feedback existed, I didn't know what I was missing. I tried a Logitech Momo a few years back, but the programming wasn't as good for the Sims as far as how things felt, and it wasn't worth making the switch for me.
With the G25 going for under $300, this is the route to go for force feedback. This is without a doubt, in my opinion, the best bang for the buck in sim racing. With sims like Live for Speed and R Factor being programmed to take advantage of this technology, I feel you can be at a disadvantage if you don't have force feedback. What an amazing feeling it is when you exit a corner and the steering gets light because you are losing traction. Or braking into a corner, the wheel chatters to mimic the tires trying to adhere under deceleration. Everything about this wheel makes it worth every penny. The leather-wrapped wheel, steel paddles, comes with a clutch, comes with a stick, comes with all the buttons. I know there's individual wheels, pedals, shifters, etc. on the market that may be better than the G25, but for $300, getting the whole package is unbeatable. Some of the complaints in the sim racing community about the G25 was that there are not enough buttons on the wheel like previous Logitech models. My personal preference is less buttons on the wheel, and I really like how they have the separate unit for the shift, which has an extra 8 buttons plus a directional pad. Mounting it in my sim cockpit wasn't hard to do at all. I used some heavy-duty Velcro to mount the pedals and noticed mounting points for hardware as well. The wheel and gear shifter have plastic clamps with rubber mounting points that secure it very nicely. I've had no problems with it moving at all since I've attached it to my rig. A little more about the shifter and its 2 modes. You can go sequential or gate shifting. Sequential allows you to just shift up and down, while the gate has 6 speeds plus a reverse. There's actually a reverse lockout, so you can't shift into reverse unless you push down on the shifter. The paddle shifters are ergonomically located to allow smooth, error-free shifts. From my memories of the Logitech Momo, you can feel gears moving as you turn the wheel. The G25 is not like that at all. It feels really smooth. One of my concerns for the G25 would be reliability. They haven't been on the market long, so I'd be curious to see what the community says about it in a few years. I have yet to hear one bad thing about them though.
My only complaints about the wheel are the following. The shifter is made is just a little bit flimsy. It just doesn't feel as solid as some of the other shifters out on the market, but for what I'm using it for, I have it as a brake bias knob, and it's working great. Another thing, it's got a lot of wires, which I've tucked away nicely, so it's not too bad. And then the other problem with it is dialing it in for the different simulations can be really tough. You know, for me, I was lucky. I have a lot of friends out there that were able to help me out and get things dialed in. But if you don't have that kind of type of people to tap into, you may be struggling to get this thing set up the right way. All right, we're going to take the G51s for a spin now. Driving the Porsche 996 here at Nürburgring with R Factor. Having the G51, you really get a burst. I got the speakers down below me, I got the subwoofer got this cool control pad. You can turn the sound on and off. You can dial in the volume here. You can also dial in each one of the speakers right from this control pad. So really cool feature, especially for the sim racer.
As I previously mentioned, it comes with 2 preset sound settings, gaming and music, and I definitely noticed the difference between the two, and I definitely noticed an enhanced gaming experience while I was in the gaming mode. Another cool feature about the center speaker is how it can mount to your monitor. Had to use a bit of Velcro to secure it, but it has yet to move from the top of mine. One other thing you can do is customize the look of your speakers by adding inserts under the clear plastic.
Only had a few complaints about the G51s. One, the front speaker wires were really short. I had a hard time getting things to mount, and I'd say about an extra 6 feet of speaker wire would have been great. Same with the center speaker. Other complaint is the amount of wires. There's just a ton of wires with this thing, but you expect that with that many speakers. And the last thing, the pricing I think is a little too high for the average sim racer at about $200. It's a little on the high side for a speaker system, but if you really want a great experience in your sim racing pod, G51s are definitely the way to go. So there you have it, the reviews of the G25 and the G51. And so what do you think? Best bang for the buck, Sean?
Yeah,
G25?
well, when I finally got my chance to play with the thing, let me just tell you, I've been a long-time user of the Logitech DFP wheel. I love it. It's a great bargain. Or a great value, but there's no comparing it to a Logitech G25. That was the smoothest force feedback I've ever felt.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Definitely made a difference in my lap times and overall just, immersion of the simulation. And same with the G51 speakers. Talk about immersion, man. It was intense. I could almost feel the rumble strips going by underneath me as I was driving.
Yeah, and you got to love the controller and the plug for the headphone and the microphone.
Cool setup.
No one else has thought of that yet.
Again, a little pricey for about $200, but still, if you could afford it for your racing rig, definitely worth it.
Definitely.
So, how about some endurance?
Endurance racing, Masters of Endurance.
Or lack thereof being Masters, but that's the name of the series. We're gonna, Sean's gonna go in depth on there, and why don't we check it out?
All right. Well, here at SRT, we are always covering the racing action for you, but we thought that maybe we ought to go one step further and give you the driver's eye view of the action. So we decided to find some of the best racing out there and get in the race. Our good friends at Zwartwind Racing were kind enough to let Darren and I get behind the wheel of their car for the Masters of Endurance event. This was the first event of their new season, and it was the 12 Hours of Kyoto. This long-time running series also started things off a bit different this season with the addition of a second class of car. When I think of endurance racing, the first thing that comes to mind is multiple classes, so this was a great addition. However, one of the biggest stories of the day would end up being the clashing of the classes as these drivers figured out how to deal with drastically different lap times. After the qualifying sessions were over, there were 29 teams of mixed class variety ready to take the grid. Leading the way would be SK Gaming, who qualified on the pole with a 2:10.72, just a tenth of a second faster than Mercury Racing Team. In the GT2 class, Core Racing took the pole with a blazing 2:20.44, a bit ahead of 777 Racing. These tight qualifying times would be a great indication of the battles for the class wins that would shape up later. The beginning of the race was filled with an incredible battle between Nils Najuk of SK Gaming and Ray Mooney of Mercury, with Nils getting a fantastic start and jumping out to lead the first lap. With many hours to go in the event, this would be just the beginning of a hard-fought race for the entire GT1 group. Our GT2 class leader had a first lap troubles with the tail group of the GT1 cars and was off the track with damage to be fixed at a later time. This left 777 Racing out front leading the GT2 class as things got sorted out.